Hey girl, welcome back to another episode of Rock That Fitness with Anna Rockstar. And I have Brett Scranton with us again today as we continue on with our I'm going to do this wrong again. Brett, you're here. So the 4 Horsemen of Chronic Diseases. We're
Good
going into
job.
number 3. And so, yeah, let's dive in.
Okay. Hey, Coach Anna, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you,
Amazing.
Brett?
I'm
Except that
also well.
I'm on a leash here
I
again
can
because
see that.
I keep forgetting to plug in my headphones. So
That's super funny, to be
I
honest.
know, it's fine.
Yeah.
What's going on? How are you
Well,
doing? You just went on a trip. Tell us real
yes,
quick, where'd you go? How
I
was
went
it?
a really relaxing trip to Sedona, Arizona. It's like it's like another planet with a kind of Grand Canyon-y red rocks, lots of hiking, world-class food,
One day
everything
I
like
need to
that.
go there.
Yeah.
Is this like a
Yeah.
fancy schmancy ritzy place to go?
No, it's pretty chill, laid back. And yeah, you just go there to get the scenes and get your exercise and everything fun.
Are there trails?
Lots of trails.
Hiking?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it's known for sure.
And what about like
All the,
stones
all,
and gems and things like that? Is it known for that? Because I think it is. I don't know.
yeah. I think there's a lot to do with vortexes and crystals, but that I'm no expert on.
See, that's the stuff that I'm not an expert in, but I'm so fascinated by it, and I know Country Boy would love it because he loves rocks and stones and boulders.
Yeah. It's beautiful
So
for sure.
something to consider. Anyways, we probably have quite a bit to cover today, and again, just want to thank you for being on the podcast once again, and your willingness to share and this great stuff. Like
I'm excited.
we're going through the book that has covered some of this stuff in such thorough detail. Yeah, Outlive by Peter Attia. Outstanding book, not an easy read. So we're just taking and kind of summarizing the things in there about these 4 horsemen of chronic diseases. And we've gone over, this is our 3rd episode of 4 that we're going to be doing. And we were going to do a little recap of the last 2 episodes that we've done. So if you have missed out on the last 2 episodes of the 4 horsemen of chronic diseases, you can go back. And Chrissy, would you please just put that in the show notes for us so people can go check out those episodes? Brett, you want to give us a recap on those?
Yeah, for sure. So the first episode we covered was on heart disease, and it's the leading cause of death for Americans. That leads to 1 in 5 deaths in the U.S. Approximately 700,000 Americans die each year of heart disease. And we learned from our podcast that our lifestyle interventions that are most potent or helpful to us, we need to work and strengthen our heart muscle. So that calls for 150 minutes of zone 2 cardio every week and 2 to 4 sessions of strength training per week. We need to be prioritizing our fiber. There it is. There's the guns. We want to look for up to 30 grams of fiber per day, and that just means fruits, veggies, legumes, whole grains. And then medicine if indicated. So if you have elevated cholesterol or LDL, or if you have high blood pressure, you need to manage that with your doctor's care. And then kind of watch your saturated fats. We talked about that, and limiting your alcohol. So anyway, that was the synopsis of the first podcast. And then last week we did one on cancer. This is the second leading cause of death for Americans. Approximately 1 in 6 deaths are caused by cancer, or about 600,000 Americans die each year of cancer. So here are protocols that we want to recommend is primarily early detection and screening is going to be key. So that involves self-checks and then pursuing regular medical exams. Also need to increase our fruits and veggies. We did spend a little bit extra time on resistance training in this one because resistance training specifically helps fight cancer in a few different ways. And then we said to manage unsafe exposure to sunlight and, of course, minimize your alcohol, which is a common theme across all of our talks. But that's kind of the highlights. And then, today we want to delve into the third one on our list is called Alzheimer and dementia.
Yeah, and I mean, a reoccurring theme in just about anything. We want to have a healthy, strong body, what we're putting in it and how we're moving it. So yeah, I mean, so much can be taken care of and prevented when we do that. So
Absolutely.
I don't think people know this. I think it's good to be reminded, but I think people know, but I don't think until it becomes an issue, until they start seeing symptoms or signs that their health is failing them in some way. Sadly, that's when they start to take, control or take some action to prevent or to make things better. But I hope that I hope that by bringing awareness to all these four horsemen of chronic diseases, that we can actually implement some of these things and prevent them, rather than wait until we start having some of these symptoms. So, but that's
Yeah,
not to say that if you don't start having symptoms, like, you can always begin to improve your health, whatever's going on. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter what your health condition is. You can improve your health condition whenever you implement the science, the evidence-based approach to things with food and activity, lifestyle. So anyway,
absolutely.
I'm always going to sit here and do a promo for that.
Good job. I agree. And this is going to be an interesting talk. When we get into the protocols, there's some common themes, some, exercise and nutrition, but there's some really specific stuff too that's really
Okay,
interesting. So it's going to
cool.
be fun.
So give us a good definition, a good working definition, something we can understand easily about what exactly is Alzheimer's
Okay.
disease.
Yeah, we talk about kind of Alzheimer's and dementia together, but really they are a little bit different. And dementia is the one to start with. So dementia is a general term for decline in mental abilities, severe enough to interfere with your daily life. So that's a general concept or definition. And then Alzheimer's is a more specific form of dementia, and it starts in the brain many years before symptoms start to show.
Hmm.
So they say that Alzheimer's accounts for about 60 to 80% of dementia cases. And just to say a little bit more, so it is the sixth leading cause of death. So it's responsible for approximately 120,000 deaths in Americans each year. And that's more than diabetes. So diabetes is next at about 100,000 deaths per year. So that tells you its level of significance.
I don't want to just just fly by this information, because I think even myself, years ago, I had confusion. So I know other people do too. Can we get a little more specific about the difference of dementia and Alzheimer's? Because I think there is some specific having to do with like short-term and long-term memory, as far as memory is concerned. I think also the idea that people who are aging and getting older, I don't know, beyond 65, 70 years old, that it's natural to lose our memory, or lose our short-term memory, or these kind of things. But that's not necessarily the case from what I've read and what I understand in terms of research. It's not necessarily, normal. It's not age. I don't know. Like, is it age related? Does it happen to everybody? I don't think it does.
Yeah, I think that's true. I
So
mean,
what's the difference? What's the difference with the dementia and Alzheimer's?
well, we know that the psychiatrist who studied it in his patient, he was a psychiatrist and a neurologist. His name was Alois Alzheimer, and this was back in the early 1900s. He studied the cerebral cortex of a patient who had, memory disturbances, and it was distinctly diagrammed. And according to Dr. Atia's book, there's distinct patterns, a white material on the brain matter. So I know that. As far as really the distinction between Alzheimer's and dementia, I know they're both memory, cognition, they call it executive function, but everything to do with your activities of daily living. Somewhat related. I just know that Alzheimer's is known to be a specific form, and it sets in many years and develops before symptoms start to show even. But we
Okay.
could, yeah, but we can definitely talk about the risk factors, because you kind of started bringing that up a little bit, if
I'm
you like.
still not satisfied with this answer. I'm not.
Okay, go to
I
Miss
want to
Google.
know. I'm going to do real quick, because I think there are some distinct differences when it comes to dementia in terms of like short-term memory loss. Um, does that make sense? Because I
That very
know
well
that
could
with
be.
Alzheimer's disease, is typically associated with loss of memory of even the past and people that and things like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I know most Americans are very fearful of getting Alzheimer's, even as much as fearful as dying, because it can really, destroy the quality of your life for up to decades. So it's
Yeah.
definitely something that people are pretty fearful of.
Yeah, because I had, and just on a personal note, I took care of my mother-in-law years ago, my first marriage. I took care of my mother-in-law for many years. She had diabetes, and then she was having short-term memory losses. She wouldn't remember something that we talked about 5 or 10 minutes ago. And then I did have her seeing a neurologist. I was wondering, is she getting Alzheimer's disease? But at that time they were saying no, that it wasn't necessarily Alzheimer's, and that it had to do with her, just her brain was declining, and that was the dementia because of her aging.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily awesome because she wasn't forgetting the people in her life. She wasn't forgetting her family members or anything like that.
It's interesting you brought up that her diabetes condition, because I think there are some very common elements and some extra risk that comes with medical conditions like that we'll talk about a little bit.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Let's go. Let's talk about it.
So in terms of we can talk about the risk factors in general to see who's kind of more at risk for this condition versus the general population.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely age is the biggest one. So most people with Alzheimer's are 65 and older, and that risk kind of increases exponentially. So when you get up into your 80s, let's say, it's triple the risk. So it's definitely age related in that format. A big one that comes into play is family history. So if you have a parent or a brother or a sister, we call them first degree relatives, then you're probably more likely to be at risk. And they say that nearly 2/3 of the people with Alzheimer's have at least one copy of this particular gene called the ApoE4, apolipoprotein E4.
Okay.
But you can ask your doctor for a test. And I was even Googling it, and I have friends that have done this. You can order the home test kit from like places like 23andMe that will do this too. You just swab a swab in your mouth and send it in for analysis. Okay. It's like $100, $125.
Oh, wow.
So
okay, so anybody can do that.
I think it'd be kind of interesting, really. Or maybe we don't want to know. I don't know. But I think we do want to know. That's the point.
That's the point of prevention and what we can do.
Exactly. Head injury. So if you have a car accident or some other type of injury, that can bring on more risk. And then medical conditions like we discussed. So diabetes, specifically high blood pressure, can be correlated to higher risk of Alzheimer's. Okay. And then I read, this is interesting, race and gender. So older Latinos are 1.5 times more likely than older whites for this disease. And older African Americans are 2 times more likely than older whites for Alzheimer's disease. And then regarding women and men, around twice as many women have Alzheimer's compared to men. Now, they say this could just be causally related because it's true that women live longer than men. So it could just become more prevalent because there's more women, aging.
Oh, yeah. Right. Live longer.
Yeah. So it's just bound to show up eventually, kind of that theory.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the main kind of risk factors that are present. And then I thought we could spend the majority of our time kind of talking about the fun stuff, which is what can we do to control the levers and, our outcomes and avoid this risk or mitigate this risk if at all possible.
Yeah, I'm still hung up on the dementia. I think Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. Is that correct?
For sure. Yeah, they say 60 to 80% of dementia are classified as Alzheimer's. So it's the majority of dementia. So
what did you say was the definition of dementia?
That is just, I wrote down here, I have to refer back so I don't screw up. Dementia is a general term. So that just means it's a decline in the mental abilities, severe enough to interfere with your daily life. Okay,
now I'm satisfied.
Oh, good. So it's your
now
memory.
I'm satisfied because apparently there's several forms of dementia. There's many different types of dementia. So Alzheimer's is one of them. So now I'm satisfied. Now I get it. And it does have to do with the cognitive decline in some way. Okay.
Yeah. So our protocols are going to get into how we can make our brain stronger. Yeah.
Yeah. So what can we talk about the risk factors for Alzheimer's?
Yeah. So we did talk about the characteristics or the I guess I'll call them risk factors, and we listed them out. So age, as we get older, the risk increases dramatically. Family history is a big one. So get yourself tested if your parent, if your brother, sister had it. Okay. If you have diabetes, let's try and manage that and get you back to pre-diabetes or below that, because that glucose metabolism is a big deal for this disease. High blood pressure as well. Got to manage that. And then stuff we can't control, our race, our gender, so those are just factors that you need to be aware of.
Yeah. I think that, and I remember this when I was in nursing school, it was something that really, kind of stood out to me, that what's going on with diabetes and people who or having high blood glucose levels, is that what people don't understand is that having high blood glucose levels is damaging to your body tissues.
Yes.
And so that makes complete sense if we're continuously having high blood glucose levels because we are having issues, in the area of insulin, or we are pre-diabetic or diabetic, then that is what's causing damage to all tissues. That's why, diabetes is just such it can damage, every part of your body, every part, all of the
Yeah.
cells, because it's going, we've got the circulation of the high blood glucose levels in our body.
Yeah, we're not disposing of it as energy into our cells because it's stuck in our blood.
Yeah.
And in fact, to your point, some people refer to Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes. So it's not widely recognized as a medical term, but it is because there's that shared characteristic of glucose metabolism problems that influences the brain's health.
Okay,
So,
cool. And so I don't know if this was what you wanted to talk about next, but if you, because I have had some close friends that have lost their mothers recently, and even, a couple years ago, whatever. Now I'm at this age where a lot of us women who are over 40 are losing our mothers and having moms that have this. So yes, we're talking, I'm going to kind of direct this towards women and the female population. So it's touched me in close proximity with people that I know, even some of our members in Rock That Fitness. And it's just really, really heartbreaking. And so the question I have, though, is that if you aren't even aware of this, say you don't know that you have a risk factor, and that your mother has it, and maybe you're in your 40s or 50s, but you don't have any signs, what do we need to be doing? What do we need to know now that we already know that our parent had it or has it? Like, what if I was, in this position? I'd be like, oh my goodness, what can I do now? I don't know what my symptoms are. I don't know what symptoms to look for. Were you going to go over that maybe?
A little bit. So I've got a couple of friends that had mothers that passed away from Alzheimer's as well. And I'm just reflecting on some of their characteristics. Two of them have high blood pressure controlled with medicine. And that's one of our risk factors, is medical conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure. So if you in particular, one of your clients or yourself or whomever, has a parent, a first degree relative, and you have some of this extra risk factors such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, pre-diabetes, that's probably an extra red flag for you to learn more about your own risk. And like I say, getting that genome test, even through the mail order like 23andMe, might be extremely helpful for you, because we're going to go through the protocols that you can modify to, reduce that risk exposure for yourself, based on your own risk classification.
Yeah. I think we need to put that in the show notes too, Chrissy, the name of that test. Can you please repeat that, Brett, that self-home test you can do?
Yeah, it's ApoE. So apolipoprotein E genome it's a genome or a gene, and it's a test you can order through a company such as 23andMe.
Okay.
For like
Do you know
$100.
off the top of your head, if we did a comprehensive blood panel, that would be one of the things on there?
I think you could ask for it from your doctor. So see if it's approved, see if they recommend it. But based on your, first degree relative history, I would think that would be easily justifiable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
Well, so let's go through what we can do, either because we know we're at risk a little bit, or we're just healthy and we don't want to fall into any extra risk because of it,
But so I guess before we do that,
Okay.
I want to satisfy this question for women who perhaps it is in their family, it's in the genes. Can we prevent it even though it is hereditary?
I think there's a lot of lifestyle control we have. And in fact, I'm going to read some notes out of Dr. Peter Attia's book. For instance, one of the protocols can reduce your risk by 65%. So that's a teaser.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's coming up in our notes.
All right, let's go. Let's talk about it.
Okay. So the first thing that Dr. Attia wants us to know is we have to pay attention to our metabolic health, our diet. So these are things that interfere with the blood vessels and our brain health. And as I referred to, some people call Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes, because our brain is impacted by glucose metabolism just as much as our other organs. So we need to improve our glucose metabolism. We need to pay attention and lower our inflammation. That's chronic inflammation that our immune system is dealing with in the background and stuff like that. So what's that lead to? reducing added sugars, reducing refined carbohydrates, limiting alcohol. So, key stuff that we know, but I'm telling you, it has a direct influence on your brain health.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's stay on diet for a couple more great ideas on brain health. So there's a health researcher named Max Lugavre, and he's amazing. He's on Instagram. You and I both follow him.
We know Max.
He's written a book. He's done research. His mother died of dementia, and he's done research on what he calls genius foods. So foods that help reduce the risk of Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. And so we know this already, all of us. All fruits and vegetables have a sales pitch, as I call it. So everything that is in that realm is good for us. But here is a curated list of brain health foods. And he kind of lists out the top 10. And I'll tell you why they're on here after I just read them off, if that's okay.
Oh, good. I want to see if they're on my list.
I know a lot of them were on mine. I was excited. I'm like, okay. So avocados, which I know is big for you. Yeah. Extra virgin olive oil is good to cook with. I mean, I don't, I have some.
I don't do a lot of oil cooking, but yeah.
Yeah. Blueberries, which I have every day in my yogurt. Dark chocolate, which I've been getting into more.
Yes. I have a box full of dark chocolate.
I know. I've been mowing mine down. Mr. Alan Aragon specifically calls out dark chocolate. So, I mean, that tells us something because he's a preeminent expert.
Oh, yeah.
Eggs are fabulous, as we know. He lists grass-fed beef because he's a big proponent of lean protein.
Yeah, I don't eat beef hardly. I mean, it's not. I'm against it, but it's not really part of my big diet.
And I would say if you do eat beef, you need to limit your red meat. On the matter of saturated fats. Dark leafy greens is a big one. So your Rockstar salad.
Yeah.
Your broccoli. I know you talk about broccoli quite a bit. Wild salmon, which I could eat every day. I know you're not supposed to, but.
That's
love
good stuff.
Salmon.
So
love
salmon. Sockeye is the best.
Yeah, every format. And then almonds is listed by Max.
Okay.
So these are specific. These 10 guys are specifically things offered up because they give you stuff like omega-3 fatty acids, good for the brain. Yeah. Fiber, good for the brain. And minerals like potassium, also helping our brain health.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
That's exciting.
It is exciting, and let's dial that in, And then one last note with regard to brain health and diet, it's important to mention this, and we've talked about it in a past podcast, probiotics and prebiotics. So I want to go there real fast.
What a great episode we did on gut health. Yeah, let's drop that. Chrissy, please put that in the show notes too. That was a great episode.
It really was. So these foods are essential to promote your gut health, which has a known connection to the brain. And it's actually named, it's called the gut-brain axis. So probiotics, just to remind people, are the bacteria-rich food sources to promote strong communities of good bacteria. Yeah, right? So that's
probiotics are feeding our bacteria in our gut.
Very, very true. So we list them out real quick. It's the top 3. Non-fat Greek yogurt. Love that. Kefir, which is kind of like a yogurt drink. Easy to drink. And then kombucha, the fizzy drink you can buy at the store. Those are also yum. So anyway, that's probiotics. And then this one always confuses people, and I have to remind my friends too. You don't have to remember it either, but prebiotics are certain fruits and vegetables and legumes and other things, which only our microbes can break down.
Oh, that's what I was talking about. The prebiotic.
That's
what I'm talking about. The prebiotics are what feed our gut microbiome. Yeah.
It's their feast of choice.
That's right. Yeah.
Human cells can't break this stuff down, this list of prebiotic foods. Only our little gut friends can do it.
Hey, Brett, before you go on, I just want to clarify this for anybody that doesn't go listen to that, because it's important to understand the difference between the prebiotic and probiotic. Because you just said probiotic, we can help improve by adding like Greek yogurt and the kefir and the kombucha. Yeah. That helps to boost our microbiome,
for sure.
But to feed the bugs in our gut that are good for us, to feed them, we need to give them the prebiotics.
Yeah.
And the best forms of these things are going to come in food forms and not pill forms. So
that's right.
I just want to throw that out there. Okay. Go ahead.
As a matter of fact, Max's list has a lot of prebiotics on it. So what he listed that are prebiotics is leafy greens, almonds, avocados. In addition, things like onions and apples. I have an apple every day. It's amazing. Yeah. So just to nerd out for 30 seconds, what the gut bugs do with the prebiotic food that we feed it, they break them down into what's called short chain fatty acids. There won't be a quiz. You don't have to remember that. But these compounds help modulate great stuff for our brain health, neuroinflammation, brain metabolism, and this thing that's known as the blood-brain barrier. So
Oh yeah.
short chain fatty acids coming from our prebiotic foods, the
Yeah,
yummy
I mean,
stuff we like to eat.
how can people not get so excited about this? I
I
mean, for
know.
real, like it's so fascinating that we can actually having the knowledge to what to put in our bodies to improve our brain health. Like this is like,
Like what?
it's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. All this stuff serves to inhibit the development of Alzheimer's disease.
Yes,
So
yes.
manage your diet, change your diet.
Yeah, so I think what I love about this is that when we discuss this is why I think after having gone through nursing school and you learn the physiology and anatomy of the body and how it works, this is why I think as a nurse I get so geeked out and excited about all this stuff I wouldn't have known before, and I love that we're bringing the awareness to women, and so they can listen to this and see, like, you've been hearing for years, oh, you got to eat your veggies, you got to eat your fruit, this and that, make sure you get your omega fatty acids, but you can say that all day long, but until you actually understand what's
Understand.
happening, like under the microscope,
Yeah.
now you understand why, like you get to the heart of it, and to me, it's like it makes more sense.
I
So
agree. So
that's why I get excited about it.
it's one thing to have a yummy apple and say, oh, wow, that's yummy. But it's helping your brain. It's helping you from not getting Alzheimer's. Oh, really? That's pretty cool. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
right.
So yeah. So enough about diet. So what
Uh,
else can we do to reduce our risk? There's a ton. I got a ton of stuff going on. Okay,
Good.
ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Heart health. So Dr. Attia says this statement. He says, what's good for the heart is good for the brain. So by strengthening our heart with the zone 2, we're strengthening our vasculature, which has a big influence to our brain. So that's just kind of common sense. But whatever you're doing as a result of the cardiovascular episode, the protocols we talked about are helping you with your brain. So this is
Yeah.
the next one's the biggest tool in the toolkit, exercise. This is the foundation for Alzheimer's prevention, according to Dr. Attia. So I think we know that. So there's not much more to say. Get out there and move. And,
Yes.
so yeah.
Move it, move it.
This next one is a big one. And we haven't talked about it a lot in past episodes, but it impacts everything. Quality sleep. So this is really important across all of our functions, but
Absolutely.
sleep is when the brain repairs.
Right.
And when it heals itself. So sleep disruptions and poor sleep drive increased risk of dementia.
Mm-hmm. Big
So
time. And I think there needs to be a distinction. I like to always bring this distinction, and that is that there's a difference between getting plenty of sleep and getting optimal sleep. And because some people think, well, I went to sleep at this hour, I got up at this hour, I had plenty of sleep. But there's so many things that really that show you that you're actually having optimal sleep, because we have to go through those sleep cycles to actually get the benefits of optimal sleep and protecting our brain and our function, our cognitive functions. So there's
absolutely.
a difference between getting plenty of sleep and getting optimal sleep.
Yeah. Do you want, I'm going to give you a quiz. Do you want to give us some one or two of your best ideas for improving your sleep quality?
Oh,
Because
you going to quiz me now?
yeah. I'm going to quiz myself too.
I'll just throw out a few of the common ones. I know exactly where you're going with this. I know
Oh,
where you're
okay.
going to go.
Oh, I don't even know.
I'm going to guess at the end, like of the end of my few. I think making sure that we don't consume caffeine in my opinion, like past noon,
Big time.
because that can definitely impact sleep, even because it has a long half life. I think it
Yeah,
is,
12
but so
hours
yeah, that's long. So even if you had coffee, you might say, "Well, I didn't have it before bedtime."
or iced tea.
Yeah, and people even say like, "Oh, it doesn't bother my sleep because I can go to sleep." You can, however, it does impact your actual optimal sleep,
Does.
deep sleep, that sleep that gives you the recovery of your brain. So alcohol is another one. Okay, I already said caffeine, alcohol,
Huge. 30%
avoiding,
reduction.
yeah, avoiding or eliminating alcohol, because that is definitely going to, mess with
Screw
your
stuff
sleep,
up.
getting optimal sleep. Um, what else? Keeping a sleep and wake cycle that is the same like every single day, even through the weekend. I know I'm guilty of not always doing that, but it's my goal to have the same sleep wake cycle, because your body gets used to it and you're able
So
to
important.
go into those sleep cycles regularly. So yeah, having that's big. A lot of women are not, and they think that they are, but they're not. Especially women who, and I'm going to talk about women because that's who we serve in RTF, but
Yeah.
um, women like to wear this badge of honor, like, oh, I only need 4 hours of sleep. I can go to bed and get up at 4, and I don't need very much sleep. But that's not really true. It's that you've trained your body to do that, and you're not getting optimal rest for your brain and your body to recover. So not getting that full, yeah, that full seven, somewhere between 7 and 9 hours of sleep, generally speaking, and it's a little different for everybody. Getting no movement in your day, like just being sedentary all day long is going to impact your sleep
It's gonna be
because your body
terrible.
was meant to move.
Yeah.
We've got to expend energy. We've got to move. We got to get outside, get some sunlight. And I'm gonna turn it over to you because I think that you like really love this part about
Oh,
the importance of like our photoreceptors in our eyes getting the sunlight that we need, and if we don't, how that can also impact our sleep. So, your turn.
okay. Well, no, you stole my last two, so thank you very much.
I
So
did.
I was going to get extra nerdy too, but well, one is exercise, and like you covered, there's actually a molecule in our chemistry called adenosine. It's part of our energy currency. If anybody's ever heard ATP, that's adenosine triphosphate. The adenosine, when we exercise, it increases throughout the day, and it raises what's called our sleep hunger. So the more you
Yeah.
exercise, the better you sleep. And the better you sleep, the more you can exercise. It's very circular. It's very codependent. And then, yeah, you talked about circadian biology, which I love. So the standard schedule, the kind of reliable schedule. I love getting out in the morning for a sunrise walk. Getting that atmospheric light in my eyes first thing in the morning helps regulate our hormones.
Absolutely.
The alert hormone, cortisol, the sleepiness hormone, melatonin. The body can know what to do better when we give it those routines.
Right.
So
That's why it's so challenging for a lot of people during the winter because they live in an area where the sun isn't really shining most of the winter, and they
or
get
it's
this
cold.
like, yeah, and they feel like they're getting a depression because their serotonin levels are low. But yeah, those are huge. I couldn't agree with you more. And the part about the sleep and what is it called? The adenosine.
Yeah, adenosine,
Yeah, I
yeah,
wanted to
sleep
touch
hunger.
on that real quick, just to kind of go off of what you just said.
Yeah.
Is that some people need to be aware of this, that if we exercise later in the day, like towards the bedtime, that can also impact our sleep and cause poor sleep because
Oh,
now
okay.
you've just raised those levels after exercise, and now your brain's like, wait a minute, are we heading out to do something
Yeah.
exciting now today, or am I supposed to go to sleep? So I think that disturbs sleep as well.
Yeah.
But again, that all just depends on you, and sometimes that may be the only time you can, but just understand that that's not really the natural circadian rhythm of the
Yeah.
body.
Very true. And then I like the cool, dark, quiet environment. I think those are known to everybody. So being quiet, having it a little bit
Cool.
dark, very quiet. And then the screen time is a big one. So
Yeah.
if you're looking at your iPhone and your television and your tablet, your brain thinks it's noon. That blue light kind of fools it, and you're not going to release that melatonin like on schedule like you want to. So
Yeah.
cutting your screen time is a little bit good for you
It
too.
could. I don't know. I'd like to look a little bit deeper into that because I think it's for a lot of people that's true, but I think for some people it's not.
Yeah,
You know?
that's probably right.
I don't
That's
know.
probably right. And then the two sleep experts that I follow, which is Huberman and then the Matt, oh my goodness, I can't remember his last name now. He wrote a very famous book on sleep. Matt Walker.
Okay, yeah.
They disagree on this topic, and that is naps. So some people benefit from them. But what I've heard is if you want to take a nap, you should limit it to be before 2 or 3 p.m. at the latest, because it's kind of like interrupting your sleep if you have it a little bit later in the day, kind of like snacking before dinner.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think this is I know we kind of are going into a little bit of depth on the sleep issue, but I think that people don't value sleep like they really need to for their overall health, and
Yeah.
especially in light of this topic
Brain
of,
health.
yeah, brain health, Alzheimer's, and risks prevention for
Yeah.
dementia. It's a big deal.
So the next set of stuff is really interesting, and it's more specific to brain health. So you
Wait.
ready?
I'm ready, dude.
Okay.
Let's go.
The next one is learning. So learning, what does
Yes.
learning do? Learning helps us to acquire knowledge, store stuff, retrieve information. So this is activating our brain function and strengthening our memory. So they're closely related processes, learning and memory. So play games or puzzles or crosswords or chess or whatever. Read books. Take classes. Get engaged in a hobby. So I'm in the travel hobby. I really love it. I watch my Facebook groups and I learn and I ask questions and I'm trying new things and I'm always acquiring new knowledge.
Yeah.
Learn a new language, play an instrument, whatever it is. engage your brain, because and heck, your women are learning all about optimal nutrition and intelligent resistance training. That's amazing too. So
Oh, I like how you called that intelligent resistance
that's what
training. I
that's what
like
you're
that.
offering to your girls.
I haven't heard that. I like it.
It's
Intelligent
very
resistant train. I am going to use that. Watch
very
out.
accurate. Yeah,
Watch
yeah, yeah.
out.
The next one on the list is pretty cool too, and that is social connection. So according to the Alzheimer's Association, this exercises neural pathways and other functions. It reduces stress, it improves listening and communication. So keep that in mind, in terms of your brain health.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple other really fun ideas that I learned from Dr. Tia's book and some of the stuff I knew on my own. One is get adequate vitamin D. So PubMed, one of our favorite publications, cites a study that was conducted in Europe, and I think it studied over 100,000 people. It concluded that vitamin D delinquency is associated with substantially increased risk of all-cause dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Deficiency, not delinquency. But if your vitamin D is too low, you're going to create some problems for your health, so that's important.
Right. And you don't just I want to throw this out there, when it comes to vitamins and vitamin supplementation, get your blood work done so you can see where you're deficient in these vitamins. Don't just go start popping pills without knowing what's going on with your blood work.
And if I could say a word about that to prove your point, I was getting my son every day because I'm good at that, and taking supplementation. And it was too much. And
too much. I know.
I studied my vitamin D and it's really high. So I just redid it recently with my cardiologist, and now it's perfect. So you don't need supplementation if you're getting it from being outside enough.
I think I had the same issue too with the vitamin D also.
I'm
outside a lot, and I didn't really, I knew I needed it. So I did both, and I think I overdid it also. So,
and it goes away real fast
point.
if you stop taking it. But to your point, like you brought up, test, don't guess. So know your numbers, know where you're at, know what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah. That's what people ask. Like, well, what do you think about taking vitamins and all this kind of stuff? I think in a multivitamin, I'm not opposed to. I think that's probably a good idea to see, make sure it's got a great absorption. Make sure you get something high quality. But these other things like vitamin D, vitamin B12, these kind of things you want to add, check your blood work before you start doing that kind of stuff. Same thing with magnesium and things.
Because all these supplements we put in our mouth have to go through our liver. So, I mean, you might be stressing your liver out if you take too much stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next one is pretty interesting, and this might impact. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before you move on, well, when we were talking about the brain health and we were talking about ways to improve, I think this helps us. What you said, like learning, but not just learning, but also neuroscience has proven that meditation, forms of mindful practices and meditation and these kind of things, it just depends on, there's a lot of different forms, but it has been shown scientifically to improve cognitive health and mental health.
So. Unplugging from your phone and being in nature, and like you said, just sitting and being by yourself, and reflecting. Good stuff. Yeah. I agree.
Mindful practice.
I like it. And you're probably really good at it. That's probably an opportunity for me to do better at it. But so.
Well, it's a very individual thing. I mean, like, I don't think it's a way to judge it. Whatever you do, if you do it regularly, it is going to help you. It is going to help your brain health.
For sure. The next one might help some of your listeners that, I'm not sure the predominance of this, but protecting your hearing and addressing hearing loss. So Tia cites that patients with hearing loss might miss out on socializing, intellectual stimulation, and feelings of being connected. So you need to investigate hearing aids if needed, and that might impact some people. And that probably is a big relation to Alzheimer's. If he brought it up in his book, it probably is important,
Yes.
And then finally, this one's really interesting to me personally, and I think I'm going to explore it some more because my gym has one of these, and that is heat therapy is a big area of interest for preventing dementia. In particular, Dr. Attia is convinced of the benefits of dry sauna. He recommends, he recommends 4 sessions per week.
Really?
And his research states that this practice may reduce Alzheimer's by 65%.
Dude, I've been going into that dry sauna. I like it in there. I go in there several times a week.
Do you try and stay a certain number of minutes? Because I think he says 20 minutes.
Oh, I don't stay that long.
That's a long time.
I might stay 10 minutes max, but I shoot for 5.
Yeah.
It's not about the boring. It's just about that point. I'm all hot and
It's
I'm
like
sweaty. I'm like, I gotta get out of here.
it's time to move on.
Do you do it? Do you go into the dry
I do, but
sauna?
not as regularly as I want to, you know. So I think probably under the umbrella of heat therapy is going to include, you know, hot baths, hot showers, but probably dry sauna is going to be real important, and steam room. But I think
Yeah.
dry sauna specifically has a
I
lot of
think and
benefits.
I also think that it's a great place for meditation. So you
Yeah,
can just combine them.
yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
observation. But anyway, that's kind of the highlights of my commentary. So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of levers we can pull and control and manage, you know, have the right
Yeah.
diet, exercise and move more, obvious
Yeah.
stuff, but then some specific stuff too, the learning, the social connections.
Yeah, and I want to reflect on the concept or the idea because I know, like we were talking about, people that I've known or have been close to that have lost a mother or a loved one due to dementia, and the question comes up like, people don't understand really, like, well, how in the world? I mean, we're talking about memory, we're talking about cognitive function. How does that cause death? And so I feel like that's a really like that's a point we need to cover and just kind of explain real quickly, not get into the details of it, but the stages as they progress, what's happening is there's going to be a high likelihood for the person to get infections, have a fall, have an injury, or have some kind of severe loss of a physical function because of their cognitive decline. So they may lose function of swallowing, losing interest in eating or drinking, so they become malnutrition and dehydrated. These are the things. Or they lose their cognitive ability with their mobility, their coordination, which is increasing the risk for a fall, which we know as you're aging and you have more brittle bones, if you're not taking care of your bones, a fall or an injury like that can lead to death because it can turn into a fatal fall.
Frailty.
We've heard this many times.
For sure. And to the point about swallowing and some functions like that, the brain is in control of all that stuff. So if it's got some problems and disconnections, you know, it's going to lose some of those remembrances, like how to swallow water, how to eat food. And that's where like speech and swallow therapists need to come in and help people that have strokes and that maybe have, you know, certain levels of dementia to retrain, to relearn how to do basic stuff that we learned as, you know, children.
Yeah, and even breathing,
Yep. Yep.
So yeah. So I got curious about that because I was just thinking, how does a disease that affects cognitive function and memory affect you to die, like cause death? And these are the things, just basic functions of the body that the brain is in charge of. And as your brain is declining because of the disease, this is why it leads to death.
Very true.
Yeah.
So let's do all these things and minimize our risk. Let's get busy.
I thought you were going to say something like, okay, so now let's pray.
Yeah, right. Well, we can do that too. If it helps.
We're at the end of this. Let's bow our heads.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. I don't know where I come up with these things. I don't know.
Creative.
But yeah, so this was our third episode. Again, like we said, we were going over the 4 horsemen of chronic diseases. And do we want to talk about what the fourth one is going to be?
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be diabetes. So metabolic problems, visceral fat, all the stuff that we apparently have a little bit more control over. Maybe not to a full extent, but there's a lot of stuff we can do to improve our chances there.
Yeah, and not to I just want to let our listeners know, like, this isn't like to cause like fear mongering. We're not here to try to scare you into health, but these are very important things to be thinking about. But we do have a lot of control over our health and improving our health, and so we do need to be aware of it. And I'm not here to be like trying to scare people about the 4 horsemen of chronic diseases. I'm just here to bring awareness, and we just need to be wise for it. No need to be like, if these things are causing a fear or anxiety in you, then I just want to encourage you to kind of take a step back, take a pause and breathe through this and ask yourself, first of all, we don't need to put energy into being afraid and fear of these things, because that's not helpful towards the situation. It's also not helpful for your health and your mental health. I'm not trying to cause fear. We're not trying to cause fear. We want you to just be aware, and what actions can you take, and put all that energy that you might have in something fearful, take that energy and start learning more, getting curious about it. And I feel like that kind of helps to eliminate fear, because oftentimes we're afraid and we have anxiety because we don't have the knowledge. That's what happens. We're scared because we don't understand something, the
Well, yeah.
fear of the unknown.
Yeah, information is power. And like you and I talked about earlier today, we humans have a great ability to screw things up. So hyperpalatable food is delicious and we can't control the number of calories we eat. Being sedentary is fun, but you can't do it all the time. You have to move your body and, and challenge yourself. Yeah, all these stuff we're really good at. Alcohol,
Mhm.
you just need to be aware of the problems that are created when you overdo some of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it's causing a certain amount of fear, then maybe there's a reason, and take action, do something about it. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I did have fear when my health was failing me, when I was at my all-time heaviest, without even being pregnant. And I was having I was having chest pains. I was having shortness of breath. I was having tachycardia episodes because of PSVT or PSVT. Yeah. And so I was afraid. I was afraid for my life. And sadly, a lot of people wait until they're starting to have symptoms that could be fatal until they start to do something. But I hope that what we've been talking about can bring awareness, because it just goes beyond that. We don't want to wait till we start having symptoms and not feeling well. Like, why not optimize our health and live, optimized?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just grateful that cord connected to your headphones didn't strangle you. It's a little bit scary.
Yeah, and now that we're on YouTube, there's no hiding this stuff anymore. Like, anybody wants to
Right.
watch a podcast episode, here I am.
You
I think
did
I had
good.
another one with that on there, but it is what it is.
Amazing.
But Brett, thank you so much. I
My
appreciate you
pleasure.
being on the podcast again.
Thanks, Coach Anna.
And yeah, so if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You can send me an email at rtfteam@rockthatfitness.com. Or, of course, that we're out here on the internet on Instagram, Facebook. You can find us, Rock That Fitness, or something like that. Can they reach out to you?
No,
think,
I don't.
Brett?
I don't really have an account.
You're
that's
like,
public.
no,
Yeah,
it's not
I don't.
public.
I don't post anything really.
Okay, listeners,
really
you guys
boring.
are so lucky to have Brett here, because he is he's quiet.
I do have a
He's in
YouTube channel that's
secret.
got some interviews. That's pretty cool. I interviewed a cardiologist and some other people.
What's
I could
the name of it?
It's called Informed Longevity. So you can find that on YouTube.
Yeah. So Informed Longevity on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got some good stuff there.
Yeah,
That's
I interviewed
true.
Mr. Alan Aragon. So yeah, there's some goodies out there.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. Hope you have a great day and that you got some value out of this episode today. Just, keep on, rock on and stay strong, and rock on and stay strong. And rock on.